One of the things that was so frustrating to me when I saw this debate in Atlanta was this fool tried to take credit for insulin prices. And I was like, that was the perfect opportunity to be like, and y'all call me senile. He obviously is senile because he is now trying to take credit for my legislation. I would have double dog dared him to tell me what bill that came out of.
Jasmine Crockett, Democratic superstar and Marjorie Taylor Greene's arch enemy, made the rounds recently to roast convicted felon Donald Trump and make the case for why eligible voters should vote for Democrats and President Biden in the upcoming election. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we have several clips to look at in this video, but I want to start again with some good news for the Democrats, for the Big Blue coalition. The Biden-Harris campaign raised $33 million since Thursday after the debate. So the statement is, Team Biden-Harris has raised over $33 million since Thursday, of which $26 million is from grassroots donations. Nearly half of our grassroots donations were from first-time donors to the campaign this cycle. Thursday was our best grassroots fundraising day ever. Again, Thursday being the day of the debate. Okay, so keep that in mind. There is some sign for optimism here in the Democratic Party and the Democratic coalition, whatever happens. Now, with that in mind, I want to turn it over to one of the best communicators in the Democratic Party, Jasmine Crockett, a freshman Congresswoman from Texas. She is one of the best rhetoricians, best debaters, best communicators in the party. She is reinvigorating the party, helping, fire up the elder statesmen of the party, people like Jamie Raskin, for example. And in this first clip, she roasts Donald Trump for his terrible debate performance on Thursday.
And honestly, when it comes down to being an orator, that's never been who Joe Biden has been. I mean, I think that Obama kind of maybe hurt us in a little bit, and Lord knows I love him, but we got used to this amazing orator. And then you've got Trump. He's not an amazing orator whatsoever, but he knows how to just keep talking, and he'll say anything. One of the things that was so frustrating to me when I saw this debate in Atlanta was this fool tried to take credit for insulin prices. And I was like, that was the perfect opportunity to be like, and y'all call me senile. He obviously is senile because he is now trying to take credit for my legislation. I would have double dog dared him to tell me what bill that came out of. So, I'm just like, dude.
Again, great point. I'll say this, that Donald Trump and the Republican Party's attempts to take credit for President Biden's accomplishments, the Democratic Party's accomplishments, is nothing new. We've even seen, Donald Trump, even though he wants to trash the economy, also loves the economy so much, or at least is appreciative of this economy under President Biden so much, that he is actively trying to take credit for it, even though he's out of office. The stock market's doing so well because everybody knows I'll be back in the White House in November. I don't even know what that means. Like, again, no substantiation of that claim whatsoever, just total nonsense to Jasmine Crockett's point. He just says things and says it with confidence, and tens of millions of Americans who are predisposed to buy into his cult in the first place, follow along. And unfortunately, the mainstream media doesn't do nearly enough in terms of vigorously, ruthlessly, and relentlessly fact-checking it. We've also seen Republican senators and congresspeople try to associate themselves with legislation from President Biden and the Democrats that they not only opposed, they actively voted against, right? But when those things, when the funding comes down to their districts or their states, then they try to cozy on up to the Democrats in time for ribbon cutting. Again, nothing new. Also, with the insulin thing in particular, that's something that we've seen Trump and the Fox Propaganda Network and Republicans try to peddle. The reality is that during the end of his administration, Donald Trump did sign an executive order to cap insulin at $35, but it wasn't mandatory. It was a voluntary aspect of Medicare Plan Part D, a subsection of Medicare, right? And again, voluntary. President Biden came in and, as part of the Inflation Reduction Act and other programs, made it mandatory for all Medicare recipients. So 3.5 million senior citizens are receiving insulin capped at $35. And again, there is no option for the companies associated with it. It is mandatory. So Biden is just objectively far superior on this point, but Trump tries to take credit for it. Another clip I want to show you is Jasmine Crockett laying into Project 2025. Again, something that we need to talk about much more, myself included. More on that later. But it's the nefarious right-wing supervillain plot to radically reshape the government in the event that Trump and Republicans win the upcoming election.
And then when I listened to the segment before, and you're talking about really issues as it relates to Project 2025, because they do want to install loyalists. They don't want those government workers like my mama, who has always worked for the federal government so long as I can remember, the people that have the institutional knowledge to make sure that they can carry our country forward. And they work under whichever administration, Democratic or Republican. They don't swear their loyalty to an orange Jesus. Instead, they swear their loyalty to the people of this country and our Constitution. And that is the problem that we're running into. So I don't really care if he was.
Again, great point. Project 2025 is effectively a way to replace career civil servants who have served loyally, faithfully, Democrat and Republican administrations to keep the government running, to replace these people with partisan loyalists who lack the experience and expertise associated with these very critical roles. Imagine, by the way, just imagine how the architects of Project 2025, again, this right-wing supervillain plot, imagine how they would feel, imagine how they would react if President Obama or President Biden unveiled a Democratic version of that. You know, we're just going to purge career civil servants and replace them with openly partisan loyalists who want to put DEI and CRT into every school in the country. Like, imagine how they would feel with a left-wing or about a left-wing version or a left-wing caricature of what they're attempting to do on the right. They would be like, no, presidents shouldn't do that. The executive branch, we have to have, career civil servants who are nonpartisan, who will faithfully serve the Constitution no matter who is president. But because it's their guy and it's their wing of politics and it's their party, it's their cult, they feel very differently. Love that from Jasmine Crockett, exposing the dangers of Project 2025. In this last clip I'm going to show you, Jasmine Crockett makes a very important case to eligible voters why no matter what the polls say, no matter how tight things are, no matter what you think of the Thursday debate, she makes a case for why you, for self-interested reasons, you don't even have to be an altruist thinking about abstract notions of democracy, for your own self-interest, why you should vote Democrat in November.
Here's the problem that a lot of people have identified who are not they're not pro-clutching about this, is that what's the best way to move forward and defeat Donald Trump in the next election? And how do you convince voters who became very skeptical on Thursday night that this is still the path forward?
Yeah, here's the reality. I mean, we have two choices. It is very clear. You can either go with Donald Trump, who gave us the Supreme Court that is continuing to do harm, who absolutely plans to put additional Supreme Court justices on the bench, as well as install other idiotic judges such as Eileen Cannon, such as Kaczmarek down in Texas, who handled the mifepristone case. Like, if that's the America that you want, then absolutely go vote for Donald Trump. But if you want an America in which repro is a reality, if you want an America where you can love whoever you want to love, that is going to be Joe Biden's America. And let's talk about the fact that this fool wanted to tell us about black jobs, right? Like, let's be clear. Donald Trump does not understand black culture. What he's doing is playing in our faces, and he's got people that he wants to sit up there and throw out as little tokens and be like, hey, look at my black friend. That's essentially what he does. But at the end of the day, I need people to choose themselves. If everybody is saying that the economy is number one, then please tell me why you would vote for Donald Trump when he refused to answer any economic question. He has no plan. He never has had a plan. And the only plan that he plans to follow is the manifesto that's been laid out in Project 2025 that believes that DEI is the end of us. So that means that people like me, people of color, women, That's a problem for them. They want to excommunicate us. Like, they are trying to give the keys over to the white supremacists, as we also saw the Supreme Court do earlier this week as it relates to the insurrectionists. Like, I need people to wake up. I know that they say that they don't want us to be woke, and this is exactly why. Because they want us to be asleep while they continue to take our rights, while they continue to reform our courts, while they continue to say that we don't want you to have access to the ballot box. This is about all of us. So if people want to be honest with themselves, what they need to do is look at which team delivers for you. If you are happy about the dollars that are flowing into your community because of the infrastructure, because of the CHIPS and Science bill, because of the reduction in the cost of insulin that was due to the Democrats, House Democrats, Senate Democrats, and this Democratic administration. It is time to choose yourself and figure out which team is riding with you. If you want more of the chaos that we have seen out of this House, that's all you're going to get times 3 if you decide to go with Donald Trump, because he's loud and wrong.
I mean, what more do you say about that? Again, folks, as far as I'm concerned, the choice is still unambiguously clear. Said it before, I'll say it again. I understand the questions, the concerns. I understand the challenges associated with it. I'm a cynic by nature. I take all of it very seriously. But at the end of the day, an eligible voter, in my opinion, is better served, so are their friends, their family, their locality, their state, their country, even for purely self-interested reasons, by voting for the Democratic candidate, which will almost certainly be President Biden, and House Democrats and Senate Democrats. And again, this is important. It's not enough to just simply get President Biden reelected. We have to retake the House. We have to keep the Senate. It is an incredible burden, an incredible challenge in this electoral season. And that's why no matter what we cannot do is sit on the sidelines. No matter what, we cannot consider, in my opinion, in good faith and good conscience, voting third party or voting for the Republican Party. Certainly, the best bet at the end of the day, even on their worst day, is the Democratic Party. Let me know what you think in the comments.